Hey guys, Cody with CJC Off-Road, and today's video is going to be addressing what suspension or what leaf spring or even just what simple mods do I need to do to my Super Duty truck in order to accommodate a slide-in camper. Now, I'm now speaking from a little bit over a year of experience with a four-wheel camper's Hawk. For those who are going to get into the nitty-gritty, it is the fully loaded, so it's going to be the heaviest of the options there. So I'd say in practicality, it's a 16 to 1800 pound camper. This video is going to reference any kind of slide-in camper for the modern truck, so I'd say the weight ranges from about 1,200 pounds to probably, a little about 2,300 pounds is what this video is being pertaining to. So if you are shopping for a camper and even a Super Duty truck, buckle up because this video is hopefully going to help you out. At its core, this video is going to be deciding kind of which route you want to take when it comes to putting a slide-in camper in your Super Duty truck. As the timing worked out with my personal situation, my 2023 Super Duty landed in the same month as my 2023 four-wheel camper Hawk camper. That is a mouthful. And so that all landed at the same time. So I basically took my truck straight from the dealership to four-wheel campers in Southern California to get the camper installed. This was a 2023 stock Tremor. For those of you who aren't familiar, the Tremor suspension is not actually set up for off-roading, and it comes with an F350 heavy-duty leaf pack in the rear of the truck. So in my head, my thought was, let's go get the camper. They have it ready. I don't want them to have to store it for me. And then we'll get it here. We'll do our suspension modifications, do the whole song and dance from there. When we put the camper on a brand new Tremor, the rear of the suspension compressed over 2 inches. So that tells you how much weight is going in the back of this truck because you're compressing that heavy-duty leaf pack 2 inches. As soon as I pulled it out of there, I was actually blown away at how poorly the truck handled, getting on an on-ramp, things like that. It was bearable. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't undrivable. However, as I've seen people argue online, I do think it could be a lot better, and I've actually gotten to that point now. But with all that said, because this is going to be a whole video, I do want to reference just kind of which route you want to take. The base question that we always have for customers is how often do you want to take the camper in and out? There's a lot of guys who just want a camper in the back of their truck for a single season, whether that's ski season, over the summer, road trips with the family in the spring. It really depends on your uses. And there's other guys who say, hey, I bought this truck for this. The camper's never coming out. Give me the works. So we're going to dive into that right now. This is essentially going to break down into an acceptable, a better, and a best category. So if you buy a brand new Super Duty, whether you do the Tremor package, heavy hauling package, I believe there's even a camper package, and you just put your camper in, that's going to be the acceptable category. Yes, the truck can drive. It is not unsafe. You can go tour the country, so on and so forth. However, you will be slowing down for exits. You won't be railing driveways. You won't be doing the teenager-like things that we love to do in these big diesel trucks with some good suspension. Now, the next option is going to be the better category. And I think that is actually probably going to be our most commonly recommended setup. And that is for guys who are going to be pulling the camper in and out. I'd say probably people who are going to have the camper only in for a certain season, taking the kids on trips over spring break, going skiing in the winter, or getting to cooler areas in the summer. Things like that, I would recommend just the Carli suspension pin top setup with the stock rear leaves. Now, why do we recommend that setup? The King 2.5 shocks are still going to give you a ton more control over even a stock Tremor shock. When you're doing that setup, you're going to notice that there's a lot less weird dipping and diving and things like that. There's going to be 2 points I do want to make up front when it comes to which sway bar you select for your suspension package. With this, I would actually choose your stock sway bar. That's going to give you that higher level of control with that high center of gravity weight that the camper causes. In the rear, I would also give a look at the full travel airbag setup for depending on how heavy of a camper you're going to go with. If you're going to do something like a go fast camper with kind of a built-out drawer system, things like that, you probably won't need the bags. However, again, with my truck, with that heavy-duty Hawk camper on the back, I did squat about 2 inches with the factory leaves, and so I would need to use an airbag to supplement that to bring the rear of the truck up to match your leveling kit. That's where the full travel airbag system comes in. It's a very cool airbag system that allows the lower bracketry to slide in and out. So when you do have weight in the bed or are towing, you slide the airbag system in, and it's going to supplement your factory leaf springs. You pull the camper out, you're no longer towing, you slide that lower airbag bracket out, and you have your OEM ride quality that has also already been upgraded with the custom-tuned King shock package. I do think that package overall is probably going to be, again, the most common that would be needed by the general public who want to upgrade their suspension on these trucks for a sliding camper. However, they don't want to fully commit to a custom-tuned setup for essentially full-time camper use. One of the questions I'm going to get in this section is going to be, why do I need the King 2.5s? Doesn't Carli custom tune the commuter series, the backcountry system, so on and so forth? And that is because the old adage, there's no replacement for displacement, even applies to shocks. So those King 2.5s can offer a ton more control as it is compared to a simple 2.0 shock by the nature of the Carli piston that they're using inside of these shocks. And that is why we recommend that package. So where you would get a little bit more flow or a softer ride with the more basic shocks, the heavier weight of the camper, the higher center of gravity is probably going to override that a little bit. And that is where the King 2.5 is going to put up a much greater fight towards, again, that increase in weight and center of gravity. Once you get a good package on there, you guys, we essentially have a 100% success rate with showing these packages to our customers, them doing them on their camper rigs, coming back for their retorque saying, boy, what a difference it made, even going down dirt roads and things like that. Because you might say, hey, I'm never going to off-road with my camper like you guys do. That seems pretty reckless for the cost of all this equipment. But without a doubt, you're pretty much always going to find yourself on a dirt road, sometimes in a situation that you wouldn't want to be in, and you want to have the equipment to handle it. Now, let's move to the pretty much full-time camper category, and that is going to be a suspension setup with both a custom-tuned spring and shock package. That is what is on my personal truck, the Carli Suspension XHD suspension system. That is a mouthful. Essentially what it means is we're running the Carli Suspension XHD leaf pack, so it is their high travel leaf spring that is custom tuned for the weight of a slide-in fully built out camper, along with a custom tuned King 2.5 shock package to go with it. Now, I don't want to dive too far down that rabbit hole because we do have a complete video breakdown on my personal truck on this channel where we show you guys just how hard you can push a truck with a camper off-road. It's quite impressive, and still to this day when I take my truck out, I laugh to myself on fire roads because I'm keeping up with guys who are in Toyota trucks with King shocks, things like that. It is so much fun what you can do with this crazy setup. A very long story short, this is a custom tuned spring and shock package for the weight of a camper in this truck. Now you're gonna ask, well, why wouldn't I just do that setup regardless? And that's because it is tuned for that weight in the truck. Therefore, if you do remove the camper for say half the year or something like that, you're gonna have an extremely firm ride in the rear of your truck while the camper is out. So this is why we recommend this setup for guys who essentially plan on leaving the camper in the truck. Now, say your wife buys an Armoire on Marketplace and you needed your truck to do truck things, go ahead and remove the camper. The truck's still gonna ride okay. You're still gonna be able to drive it. It's not gonna bounce the furniture out of the back of the truck. However, it's gonna be very firm. So for those of you who want the best performance on and off-road with the slide-in camper and essentially plan on leaving the camper in your truck full-time, that is where the custom-tuned spring and shock combinations are an excellent option. And we actually have 3 levels of variation for you, HD, XHD, and XXHD, depending on the weight of your setup. So it's a very cool setup and what I would refer to as the best of all worlds. Again, if you can stomach leaving the camper in essentially full-time on your truck. Getting to the root question of this video, that is me, which package do I want if I don't plan on leaving the camper in my truck full-time? Again, that is probably gonna be the better option. That is going to be the pin top 2.5 setup with your stock rear leaf, potentially an airbag to supplement the weight of the camper depending on exactly what your setup is, and the stock front sway bar. That setup again is going to allow for a much improved handling experience on and off road, yet not requiring you to keep the camper full time in like my setup, and not handling nearly as poorly as the factory setup that has you kind of all over the road, things like that. I spend a lot of time on these different Facebook groups. I've seen a lot of arguments lately as far as which package to go with. There was a recent, very long thread about the Tremor package and how that is the package to buy. I've lived it. I've actually bought the truck, driven it straight from the dealership to 4-wheel campers, put a camper in there, and realized just how average the Tremor package really is in terms of its weight handling capability and overall handling. Let's always keep in mind, a spec sheet, the engineers online on Facebook are always going to resort to the bed payload capacity and say, hey, like your camper's well within that. Just because it is underneath the overall limit that your truck is capable of doesn't mean it's going to work well. We have that same conversation with customers when it comes to fifth wheel towing. The truck has a payload capacity. If you're at that upper 80% and up of that capacity, you can pretty much guarantee the truck is not going to fully enjoy the experience you're giving it. And you're going to find that the handling, braking, things like that, while it can do it, are not the greatest. And when you're spending this amount of money on these setups, why not have the ultimate setup for you? So hopefully I answered that question. If you still have any questions, comment down below. Give us a phone call, shoot us an email. We'll be happy to help you out. Hopefully this did kind of help steer you in at least the right direction for your camper build. And again, if you're local, feel free to come down in Long Beach, California. You can drive my personal truck. Those of you who have a camper in will immediately notice the difference. So we'll be happy to take anyone for a ride. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one.